Hi. Today I'm going to talk about a meme that I shared a few days ago that I saw on Russia Beyond the Headlines. It was credited to Legion Media. And it's a guy and a girl in a kitchen. The guy is looking sadly at his plate of Grechka, at his plate of buckwheat. He says, "Buckwheat again?" She replies, "That's what you get for panic buying, you moron." Now, I know a lot of people will need this one explaining pretty well. So, buckwheat is very common source of food here in Russia. It is the go-to carbohydrate. It is the cheap, affordable grain that all Russian grandmothers cook all the time. And when I went to the supermarket just before being self-isolated, I saw lots of toilet paper, lots of everything else. The one thing that had been bought in bulk was buckwheat. So, this is what Russians eat. It is their base food for when they want something that reminds them of their childhood, something comforting and warm. And oh my god, it's boring. It is eaten just plain with maybe some butter. And I've lived here long enough to grow so tired of that I've invented countless different dishes just to make buckwheat palatable. And whenever I tell this to Russians, tell them, "Oh yeah, I'll have it with jalapenos and mushrooms," they think I'm crazy. Why would you need to do anything to buckwheat? But not only was this a subtle jab at Russian food, which I can complain about endlessly. Always happily, though, I'm British. I can't really stand above anyone else's national food, but with Russian, it's just so bland. Hence the guy's dissatisfaction with his evening meal. But this alludes to something much more important, and that is the panic buying. In Britain, I still see lots of news from Britain, and I saw how desperately people were buying everything, how all over the world people were panic buying toilet paper for a virus that mostly affects your lungs. I don't know why you would need extra toilet paper for that. I don't know how much people go to the toilet at work so that now they need the extra at home. I saw one clip of a guy who had done the maths and worked out that a family of 4 needed to go to the bathroom 73 times a day or something crazy, based on the amount that he saw people buying. But it's not about toilet paper. That was just the thing that people went for. It was the first thing that was mentioned, and people jumped on that. It went viral, ironically, in a virus pandemic. But the key word here is the panic. People are panicking. People didn't know what they were supposed to do. They were not communicated to properly, and so they did what they thought they needed to do. But despite all of the messages explaining why you shouldn't panic buy, it's still happening, and there's still huge crowds in supermarkets in Britain. There's still people shopping casually here in Russia. Why are people so panicked? And I understand there is the fundamental fear of death. That makes sense to everyone. And the distrust of others. Everyone assumes that everyone else is worse than they are, and so act in the same way, but of course they're doing it for the right reasons and everyone else is wrong. But it's really to do with this sense of disconnection we have from others. People are seeing this virus as either a hoax or something fake or something that will require lots of toilet paper, and it's absurd. It's absurd. It's changing people's understanding of how the world reality is around them. People are so keen to see the world in the way that they feel is right. It's part of our fundamental cognition is making the world make sense. And then something happens and it doesn't. It's horrifying. This is true horror. The world no longer makes sense, and you either look at that as if it's awesome, or you look at that as if it's awful, and this is something awful. So people are horrified and they panic. The absurdity of their current situation. Also, there's the selfishness of this, which is a sense of alienation. People are disconnected from those around them. That's 40 years of neoliberal policy that has done that. Society doesn't exist, except it obviously does. The messages people receive are so geared towards this selfishness that some of it gets through and you feel this alienation. Johann Hari has a really good book on this. It's called Lost Connections, where he outlines a dozen or so reasons why we are so disconnected and how that leads to all of the cases of depression that we see in the world and anxiety. It's about this disconnect. It's disconnecting from ourselves, so we're all anxious. It's disconnecting from others, so we're alienated, lonely, genuinely lonely. And we're disconnected from truth now. In so many ways, people are getting messages to disconnect them from truth and makes the world absurd. And that's depressing. That's an anxious idea to suffer. I thought about all these things because I've been watching a series of lectures by John Vervaeke, who's a cognitive scientist. He teaches at the University of Toronto, and he's doing a series called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis, which I highly recommend if anyone has 50 hours spare, because there's 50-hour-long lectures covering the entire history of philosophy up to the present meaning crisis that we are going through, and it's connected to our problems with mental health in society today. And it's this disconnection, largely. I've not finished the series yet, but the last episode I saw, episode 35, was about this disconnection and how people don't connect with the world around them and reality in that way anymore. And I keep using the word people as if I have some sort of answer to tell man what to do, and I obviously don't. I have my little left-wing bubble of a Facebook page that shows me all of these wonderful people who are doing so many wonderful things. And you can find countless examples online of how people are helping each other now. They are not disconnected. They are refinding this connection or continuing this connection, which is so vital. It's about sharing each other, not hoarding toilet paper or hoarding Gretschka. So thank you, Legion Media, for sharing your meme, and thank you for listening.